This is Dr. Gassas. It is Tuesday morning, 28 July, 2026. And I'm going to entitle this video, If I Could Brief President Trump on Iran. So, to begin, sir, background. 1979, Shia Muslim students took over our embassy, held Americans hostage, and there were no repercussions. In the 1980s, they killed 241 Marines in Beirut via proxy, and once again, no repercussions. In the 1990s, they attacked Colbert Towers, killed more Americans. 1990s, they also attacked the USS Cole. In the 2000s, they killed hundreds and hundreds of Americans in Iraq by manufacturing explosively formed projectiles. How this in itself is not an act of war is shocking to me. But once again, we did nothing, no accountability whatsoever. And then Iran began its rhetoric that they were going to kill every Israeli and they were going to replace Israel with a Shia Muslim extremist terrorist state, which I'm going to label Little Iran. Then we come to the point where President Obama created a nuclear treaty with Iran that did nothing to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. And the proof of the pudding here is the nuclear facilities that you destroyed in Operation Midnight Hammer. From the 2010s on, they funded Hamas and Hezbollah. Hamas is Shia Muslim. However, Hezbollah is Sunni Muslim. Typically, they hate each other to the point that they'll kill each other. However, they hate the Israelis so much that they were willing to work together. Iran also funded the Houthis to attack Saudi Arabia. And why would they attack Saudi Arabia, another Muslim state? You know, the country of the two holy cities. And the reason for that is because Saudi Arabia is Sunni Muslim, whereas Iran is Shia Muslim. Very different. And then we come upon October 7th of 2023. They literally invaded, I would call that an invasion of Israel. And as you know, took hundreds hostage. The women who were taken hostage were beaten, raped on a daily basis. And most of the hostages never arrived home alive. So where am I going with this? I think you're absolutely correct in everything you've done so far. And I think if going forward, if you do order more significant strikes, significant attacks, I think at the tactical, at the strategic, even at the national security level from a military perspective, hands down a success. And in the big picture of what you're trying to achieve, in terms of your primary goals of them not having a nuke and stop funding terrorism throughout the Middle East, I think it will fail. And the important point here is, why will it fail? And the reason is simple. They have a Shia Muslim extremist mentality. It's the ideology. They completely buy into the pillars of jihad. They completely buy into that they want a global caliphate based upon the Shia Muslim terrorism, extremism, whatever you want to call it. This is their ideology. And as long as that ideology exists, this is not going to stop. So whatever negotiations are going on right now at this moment, and I get other partner nations want to stop it to help us because of our allies and whatever hidden agendas they have. I get that. However, from Iran's perspective, from their ideological perspective, they simply want to hold this over as long as they can, even to the point where we're 2 years down the road and we're at the end of your term and they're still saying they want to negotiate. And the answer is they don't. They want to continue with their primary mission of developing a nuke, killing every Israeli, and replacing Israel with a Shia Muslim extremist terrorist state, which I label Little Iran. So what's my recommendation on this? Before I give my final recommendation, these people who are in power, whether it's the religious side of the house or the military side of the house in Iran, they're all the same year group of these students from 1979 who took over our embassy. Just the way you have friends you stay in contact with from your undergraduate days and your graduate days at whatever universities you attended, and you still probably have a few close friends. Well, they have close friends as well, but they're not nice. And these close friends of theirs, they took over our embassy. They killed hundreds of Marines. They attacked Cobra Towers. They attacked the USS Cole. They knew and supported the killing of hundreds of Americans in Iraq. They knew and supported the attack on Israel on October 7th of 2023. These are their friends. This is what they believe in. This is what they support. So my recommendation is simple. They're responsible for killing Americans. All those heads in Iran who did this need to be eliminated. And then you put in fresh blood, or what I think a better way is fresh leadership. Someone who's not an extremist, without ever putting American boots on the ground. That's my recommendation. I think that's the only solution that will give you success in terms of your primary goals of them not having a nuke and not continuing terrorism throughout the Middle East. That's part one of my brief, sir. Part two, and this is really to Democrats who have criticized you for saying that there was no imminent threat and that this is a war of choice. They've all said that again on the popular media. And what I would say to them, when did any of them identify that there was an imminent threat to America? Did any of them identify the imminent threat prior to October 7th of 2023 on our ally? Did any of them identify the imminent threat before September 11th of 2001? Going back to World War II, did anyone identify an imminent threat before December 7th of 1941? And the answer is, of course not. And what I would say, sir, is you've got to call out these incompetent buffoons for them to say that. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. Same thing with this argument that this is a war of choice. The fact is, every war we've been in, since the day that George Washington and Benjamin Franklin hung out at the tavern in Williamsburg, deciding that they had it with the Brits. Every war we've been in has been a war of choice. And I encourage you to call them out on this stupidity. And the point I'm really trying to make to you, sir, is they hate you so much that they're willing to just do these attacks nonstop. They want you to fail even if Americans die. And the fact is, under their watch, Americans have died again and again and again. And that needs to stop. We should not be losing Americans in America or anywhere else. So those are the two major areas I wanted to discuss, sir. subject to your questions. And in closing, I'm sure you've got generals advising you on this. Experts in foreign policy, whatever. But if they haven't briefed you on what's driving these Iranians right now, and again, in closing, specifically this ideology of Shia Muslim extremism and terrorism based on the pillars of jihad, where they believe, where their goal is a global caliphate of Shia Muslim nations. If they haven't briefed you on that as a driving factor, then I think you haven't gotten good advice. Sir, those are my thoughts this morning. Thank you for everything you've done to keep our country safe. Sir, in the 1 in a billion chance you ever want my opinion in person, I'm honored to assist. Last thought for the morning, stay close to Christ.